The straight line L has equation 3x plus 2y equals 17. The point A has coordinates 0, 2, and the straight line M is perpendicular to L and passes through A. The line L crosses the y-axis at point B, and lines L and M intersect at point C. We need to work out the area of triangle ABC, showing all of our working. Okay, so there's a lot going on there, so we're going to break it down line by line. I'm going to start off looking up here. So the straight line L has equation 3x plus 2y equals 17. Now this might not be the form of the equation of a line you're very familiar with. The form we normally have is y equals mx plus c, where m here is the gradient and c here is the y-intercept. So we're going to rearrange this to get it into this form so it's a bit easier for us to work with. So first thing I'm going to do, I want to get y by itself on the left hand side. So if I subtract 3x from both sides, we'll get 2y equals 17 minus 3x. So now if I divide both sides by 2, these cancel, leaving us with y here. And we're going to have 17 divided by 2, so 17 over 2. And then we'll have 3 over 2x. Now if I write that the other way around, it might be a bit clearer. So we're going to have y equals minus 3 over 2x plus 17 over 2. So this here is line L, but in a form you might be a bit more familiar with. So we can tell that the gradient of line L is minus 3 over 2. And the y-intercept is 17 over 2. Great, so we're going to move on to this line. The straight line M is perpendicular to L and passes through A. Okay, so this part first. The straight line M is perpendicular to L. So if lines are perpendicular, the gradients are the negative reciprocals of each other. And since we've got the gradient of line L, we can use that fact to work out the gradient of M. So gradient of line L is minus 3 over 2. Therefore, the gradient of M is, and now we need to take the negative reciprocal. That means multiplying by minus 1, and then swapping the numerator and the denominator. So that gives us 2 over 3. And if we look back at the question, we know for a fact the line M goes through the point A, which has got coordinate 0, 2. So we know that M goes through x equals 0 and y equals 2. Now we can use the general equation of a line, which is y minus y1 equals m multiplied by x minus x1, where y1 and x1 is a point that the line goes through, and m is the gradient. So we've got all of that information, so we're going to do y minus and 2, because we know it goes through y is 2, equals m, which is the gradient, so we work that out to be 2 over 3, x minus x1, so it goes through x equals 0, so that's perfect. Now we're going to simplify this up a little bit. So x minus 0, well that's just x. So we're going to have 2 over 3x on this side, and minus 2 here. So if I add 2 to both sides, we're going to get that y equals 2 over 3x plus 2. Next, we're going to look at this. Line L crosses the y-axis at point B. Well, we've already done all of the work for this, because we rearranged it into this form, and we know this constant here, c, is the y-intercept. And because B is the point that the line L crosses the y-axis, B is the y-intercept. So referring to our equation for the line here, we know the y-intercept is 17 over 2. So point B is, x is always 0 for y-intercept. So if you think about it, we've got our axis here, our x and y-axis. And for it to cross anywhere on the y-axis, it's going to be at x is 0 here. And then y is what we just said of 17 over 2. Fantastic. We're now going to move on to this line. So lines L and M intersect at point C. So we've got the equation for L and got the equation for M. So we're going to see where they intersect, and that will be C. So to do that, we're going to equate them, set them equal to each other. Okay, we're going to have minus 3 over 2x plus 17 over 2. And that's going to be equal to, that's going to be the equation for M. So 2 over 3x plus 2. So we now just need to tidy all of this up. So I'm going to get all of the x's on one side and all of the constants on the other side. So if I subtract 17 over 2 from both sides, we get minus 3 over 2x equals 2 over 3x. If we do 2 minus 17 over 2, we get minus 13 over 2. So now if we subtract minus 2 over 3x from both sides, we're going to be left with minus 13 over 6x on the left hand side, and the minus 13 over 2 on the right hand side. So a little trick here is if we multiply both sides by the reciprocal of this, we'll get x by itself. So if I multiply this side by minus 6 over 13, and this side we've got to do the same, minus 6 over 13. On the left hand side we'll just get x, and if we pop this into the calculator, we get 3. So the x coordinate of C is 3. So now all that's left is to get the y coordinate, and we can pick either of these equations, so either the one for line L or for line M. I'm going to pick the one for line M because it's just a bit easier. So we're going to have y equals 2 over 3x. So we're going to sub in the 3 for x here, and that's plus 2. And that equals, it's going to be 6 over 3 plus 2, which equals, so 6 divided by 3, that's 2. So 2 plus 2, and that equals 4. So y equals 4. So we know that point C is 3, 4. And we managed to get to this point where we know point A is 0, 2, B is 0, 17 over 2, and C is 3, 4. Now, to just visualize this roughly, I'm just going to draw a set of axes. So point A is 0, 2, so somewhere around here. So I'm just going to label that on there as A. Now point B, again, is at x equals 0, so here. 17 over 2 is 8.5, so that's higher up than 2. So that'd be somewhere roughly up here. We just want to get the relative positions correct. And point C is 3, 4. So it's positive in this direction and in this direction, so it's somewhere up here. And it's between A and B around here, so over this part here. So we're given this triangle, and we want to work out the area. So we're going to use the coordinates to work out the width and the height of the triangle. So the width is this length here. So that's 17 over 2, take away 2, which is 13 over 2. And then we want to take a look at the height. So this distance along here, from the point C here to A here. So it's going to be 3 take away 0, which is going to equal 3. And since the area of the triangle is half multiplied by the base by the height, we're going to have the area of the triangle ABC equals half multiplied by 13 over 2 multiplied by 3. And if you just pop that into your calculator, you get 9.75. And if we were given that it's centimetres or something, that would be centimetres squared. But we haven't been given any units, so don't worry about that. The area is just 9.75. So we get our first mark for getting down to here. And work out that the gradient of line L is minus 3 over 2. We get the second mark for then carrying on from that to work out that because they're perpendicular, the gradient of M is the negative reciprocal. So 2 over 3. We get the next mark for finding out that the point B is 0, 17 over 2. We get our next mark for working out the point C being 3, 4. And the final mark for the correct area of 9.75.